To be high-end, you must maintain your own design continuity. You can't just be inconsistent and lack a clear direction, doing whatever pops into your head. I really don't understand why you had to take the flash and make it look like a fake camera. Your previous models had clearly started to build a design legacy, gaining their own loyal audience, and being well received by the market. So, why would you sabotage yourself just to turn into an iPhone clone? The way I see it, Xiaomi has put the people who supported them in a very awkward position. Today, let's take a look at this phone. The newly released Xiaomi 17. As for the Pro and Pro Max, I'm personally not that interested, because I think that secondary display on the back is practically useless. It's not like it is a foldable phone. Right. For a back screen to be useful when you take it out of your pocket, you'd actually have to use it. Normally, when we pull a phone out of our pocket, the main screen is always facing us. So, I think the back screen is most likely just a gimmick and a poor design decision. I bet this back screen will disappear by the next generation. It won't last more than 2 generations at most. So today, let's focus on the standard version. As you all know, the standard version isn't being taken very seriously this time. Even Xiaomi itself doesn't seem to care much about it. It didn't get much stage time or spotlight during the launch. So, I'm going to show you what this standard version is all about. Let me give you my bottom line right away. It is a standard version, with almost zero meaningful upgrades, compared to its predecessor, the Xiaomi 15. A slip of the tongue, I meant 16. Compared to its predecessor, the Xiaomi 15, the most significant upgrade is the battery. Besides the battery being bumped up to 7000 mAh, which is indeed massive, there is hardly anything else. Even the ultra-wide lens has been slightly downgraded. There aren't really any other highlights. Let's take a quick look at some camera samples. As for the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, to be fair, aside from the impressive benchmark scores, having used it for a few days now, I can't really perceive any difference. This aligns with the data measured by GeekerOne. In typical daily use at low to medium frequencies, there is virtually no performance gap compared to the previous generation. It is practically imperceptible compared to the previous model. Aside from the massive battery, one very prominent change is the design, though not exactly an upgrade. To be honest, I'm quite disappointed with this look. With the entire Xiaomi 17 series this time, I'm quite let down. As for the design of the Xiaomi 17, I'm not sure how you all feel about it. How would you rate it? Is it an improvement or a step backward? My take is that it is worse than the previous generation, because it looks way too much like an iPhone. But it lacks the iPhone's sense of refinement. With the changes in shape and proportions, holding it in your hand just gives off a sort of stubby and chunky vibe. I believe that to go high-end, whether for a brand like Xiaomi or any other brand, premium products must maintain their own design continuity. You can't just be inconsistent and all over the place, simply jumping from one idea to another. Looking back at the previous 13, 14, and 15, their designs always had a sense of continuity. And it's not like anyone felt that those designs were unappealing. When you put the 17 next to the previous generation, one very obvious change is their entire form factor has shifted. Whether it's because of the change in the R angle, or some adjustments to the overall proportions. Take the previous Xiaomi 15, for example. It felt slim and elegantly elongated in the hand. Plus, something I really loved before was how the back of the frame curved inward to wrap around the glass back panel. Even though they're marketing this generation the same way, the actual tactile feel is a completely different story. When you hold it by the sides, you can clearly feel the seams where the parts join. The inward curving part of the aluminum alloy frame, there's just not as much of it anymore. It doesn't wrap inward as generously as the last gen, which results in a digging sensation against your palm. That is significantly more noticeable than on the 15. And, as for this camera module, I honestly don't understand why they had to change it. The previous black deco was actually quite attractive, and it maintained design continuity, starting from the 13 series. The 13 and 13 Pro both used a unified black deco, as did the 14 and 15. The Pro in the 15 series even featured a ceramic cover, and the physical texture of that ceramic was fantastic. If you did it to accommodate a back screen, or simply to make the back look like an iPhone, and that's why you designed it this way, then I could almost tolerate it. But why did you have to change the standard edition? And even with the change, it feels half-baked. It doesn't even truly mimic the iPhone's quality, where the entire back is seamlessly cold carved. That is why their camera area has such a superior sense of integration. This cold carving process works like this. A portion from the back to the camera module is cold carved. It's been partially cold carved, but there's still a glossy finish on top here, as if another layer of glass cover was pasted on. So, if you look closely, you can clearly feel the seam where they join. It compromises the design sense of integrity to some extent, and I really don't understand why you would design the flash to look like a fake camera lens. This is something you'd only see in low-end budget phones. You know, for a mid to high-end device, you'd never see this kind of design choice. Let me tell you, you might as well just be more direct. Just make it look exactly like the previous iPhone Pro. Anyway, it's a blatant homage from start to finish. And, as for the front, it looks exactly like an iPhone at a glance. Even this search bar here has that droplet feel from iOS 16, and this R-angle corner radius is almost identical to the iPhone's. I don't know if there are any legal risks involved here, because Apple actually has a patent for this specific R-angle. Seriously, Apple really did patent this corner radius, because the overall body is wider than the previous generation. As you can see, it has gained some width, with the overall size widening. Combined with these edges that feel sharper against your palm, the digging sensation is much stronger. This makes the hand feel, in my opinion, far inferior to that of the Xiaomi 15. Putting these two devices side by side, I'm not sure which one you guys would prefer. There really isn't much else to say about this phone. You just need to know that compared to the previous generation, there's almost no difference in daily use. The most noticeable upgrade is the much larger battery, but the hand feel is worse than its predecessor. The design has become so iPhone-like. Even the naming convention mimics Apple. Honestly, I'm a bit speechless. Now, let me share some of my personal thoughts regarding the Xiaomi 17 and the entire series. I think it is such a shame. Speaking as a Mi fan, it is truly disappointing. Because right now, brands like Oppo and Vivo, their mass-market models, are blatantly being called O-phones. Openly admitting they look like iPhones. But as Xiaomi, an Android manufacturer, and a leader in the domestic market, right, shouldn't you show some Android pride and create something distinct? Especially since your previous models clearly started to establish a design heritage. That slender, compact form factor, which was distinctly different from the iPhone. It had its own dedicated audience, and with the market already embracing that design, why would you sabotage yourself by turning into an Apple clone? This feels like a classic case of value for money mindset, thinking, I have to make it look exactly like an iPhone, but priced much lower, though the price gap isn't even that big now. Believing that this is the only way to attract that segment of consumers, but it is really not necessary. Xiaomi truly didn't need to do this. With the success of the 13, 14, and 15, both in reputation and sales, you've built a loyal fan base. You have your own established customers. If you had just stayed your course, I believe there was a real chance to become the leader of Android in China, as I see it. Xiaomi has put its original supporters in a very awkward position, but will its sales be good? I honestly can't say, because after everyone followed the trend of copying iPhone last year, sales were absolutely incredible. I'll just leave it at that. This market is truly bizarre. It's truly bizarre. And mainly, the 17 series has led me to, well, it has led to a general sense of disappointment toward Xiaomi as a company. I don't know if you guys can understand where I'm coming from, because it finally felt like Xiaomi was making real progress, that they were truly establishing themselves as a premium brand. They were right on the verge of success. And then suddenly, they pulled a complete 180. They basically said, let's just copy the industry leader, 1-to-1. That is just not how you do things. That is not how you build a high-end brand. Leijun, you said it yourself, we have to stay the course. Going premium requires persistence. Well, those are just my personal ramblings. Or rather, my personal gripes. I just hope to find some of you out there who resonate with this.